What I love about horse people is that in spite of all, with great insurance risks, in spite of all of our injuries, we want to keep riding. Which means that, other people, if they had half the injuries Bob has, they'd be, on the disability list, collecting Social Security, and not being able to do anything, right? And we'll just keep going. So that's what I like about it. But the thing is that we want to make Bob's life more comfortable. How many hours do you spend in the saddle?
12 per shift.
Per shift. That's a long time, all right? So when you're in the saddle that long, what starts to bother you? Anything?
Just about everything from the waist down.
Okay. So that gives us a lot to work with. Bob, what I'd like you to do is just walk around. I know it's a tight space, so I'm going to move the bucket. So as Bob's walking around, here's the first question to ask yourself. If the horse were to disappear out from underneath Bob, what would he land on? Right. The choices are his nose, his feet, or his butt. Okay? So we can see that right now Bob's got his feet pushed out in front of him. Okay? And we can tell that it's a bit pushed because if you look at the stirrup leather, right? If gravity was acting on that stirrup without any other influence, that stirrup leather would hang how? Straight down. Okay? So if there's any angle in that stirrup leather, then we know that there's a bit of pushing going on against the stirrup. Okay? Now the stirrup being a pendulum in this particular saddle, I would call it sort of a combo Australian Western. The leather is not that wide. The fender leather, the stirrup leather, so it has a lot of play in those fenders. Okay, they can move around. All right, Bob. Let's have you pretty much to the back so that people can see what I'm doing. So if we draw a line, we brought me shoulders. Here and shoulder down. We can see how far in front his legs are. Okay, so that tells us that his weight's basically going to be sitting on the horse's back and not supported by his legs. Okay? And then the tendency, and I bet you as you go a bit faster, there's more of a tendency to push here a little bit. Okay? And go ahead and push a little. So as he what happened? Yeah, he pushed himself right up and out of the back of the saddle, right? So he's way up on the cantle right now. And his knees did what? Bend or straighten? Straighten. So Bob, turn a little bit that way. Or actually, head to yeah. And just watch what happens when Bob pushes on his stirrups a little bit. Okay? And you can see, yeah, it's exactly what's happening, right? His upper body went back. He pushed himself back up into the saddle against the cantle, okay, which is going to put more weight on the horse's back. And his feet are braced out in front of him. How happy are these knees going to be like this for any length of time? And this is the one that hurts. Okay, so let that go. All right. So Bob, take a hold of your reins. Okay? And if I pull on you, what happens? What happens? I can pull him out of the saddle. Now, who's stronger, the horse or me? The horse. Okay? So should this horse, and I know this is a very nice horse, because to do his job you have to. Okay? But if I can pull him out of the saddle, if he's on a horse that pulls, he's going to get pulled out of the saddle. Okay? So that's not terribly secure, as well as not, in my opinion, very comfortable. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making some changes. Now the thing I want you to do is take a little snapshot of this picture in your mind right now. Because in a few minutes, you're going to forget what this looked like because it's going to change. Okay? So we need a comparison. So just kind of notice what, things look like. And I'm actually going to come on the other side so that I'm not blocking the view. Okay? And I'm going to stand up on this box, and it's okay if I stick my hands on it. Okay, great. So I'm going to put my hands right here, and Bob's going to breathe for it a couple of times. So take a couple of nice deep breaths. All right, so as he breathes, could you imagine where there is movement? Okay? And then all of you in your chairs, sit up a little bit, and then do what you think Bob is doing. So breathe the way you think Bob is breathing. If you were to mirror what Bob is doing, what would you do? Okay? Where do you think Bob's breathing? In the chest. Yep. More up here. Okay? And if I push on Bob, it's really easy to push him over. Okay? Now this is a guy that sits in the saddle all day long, and he's just a little pusher. Alright, so we want to make him more solid, right? And more secure and make it more comfortable for him. So Bob, I want you to slump. and fold over my front hand. This is what we're told never to do when we ride, correct? Okay, but this is where we're going to start. Okay, and now uncross your hands, okay, and breathe between my two hands. Yep, a few times. And if you guys were to do this, everybody slump, it's okay, okay? Put your coffee down. Put your coffee down and slump, all right? And now feel what happens to your breathing when you slump. Where do you have to breathe now? That's right, down below. Okay, so now slump a little more right. Wait, that was not good. You want to slump in the upper body? I'm going to ask you to slump a little more in the front. Go over my front hand. Super. Okay, now take a breath. Okay, now feel what's happening down where my hands are. What did your horse just do?
Side.
Yeah, took a breath. It licked and chewed, okay? So breathe between my two hands. Okay? And think of breathing into my hands on your back. Yeah. And if I push on Bob now, what happens? Okay, and can you see that I'm using like at least 3 times as much effort? And who do I move? The horse. Okay, go to the old place. Who do I move? Ah. Okay. Slump. Who do I move? The horse. This is really weird. Okay? So this breaks all the rules, right? What do you mean slump? I'm supposed to sit up straight, shoulders back, chest out, right? Okay. So everybody sit up straight in your chair, shoulders back, chest out. And what happens to your breathing? It's in the chest, right? Okay. So, and feel what happens in your lower back. What happens there? Hollows, okay, which means that the muscles have contracted, they've shortened, and they've gone into what's called extension. Okay, you can just chill, Bob. You can play with this, okay? Play with this. And you can look around and play with this, actually. So, flexion, everybody curl. That's flexion. Okay, the flexor muscles are contracting around your back. Okay, everybody sit up straight, chest out, shoulders back. That's extension. Okay, so now the extensor muscles, which are on the back, have contracted, and your back has gotten shorter. Okay, all right. So, what happens when we think sit up straight, shoulders back, chest out, is we go into extension. The problem is, the whole spine has gone into extension, and that's great for standing. Okay, when I stand up, I need extension. They're called the anti-gravity muscles, the muscles that put me in extension so I can stand up for long, long hours and not have a problem. Okay? But riding is not standing. Okay? Riding is actually sitting. It's really a combination of sitting and standing. It's kind of weird. Okay? The sitting part is that we need this lower back to go into more of what happens when we sit, which is lengthen and fill out a little bit. Okay? So if we pull our chest back and the lower back hollows and we go into extension, now I can push Bob over or any one of you over all day long. Okay? Now feel what happens when you go into extension, like sit up straight even though you're sitting in a chair, and your breathing goes into your upper chest. Okay? And can you feel like everything kind of rises up a little bit in this chair? Right? But if you slump, then yeah, and just watch. Everybody sit up straight, and you all, yep, you go up, and if you slump, you all go down, right? So we want you to stay close to the horse. So this lower part needs to stay down.